This video is caw. It is key. I'm not referring to the noise the raven makes, nor the noise that the sheep makes. I am simply communicating to you in a language that you understand. In the absence of being able to make the falcon noise myself, etc., etc., and in the absence of people understanding what I'm referring to, I am reverse engineering the Egyptian systems of illusion to give you the reality and the martial arts based truths that they are based on. With that being said, this video is about guilt, substances, and levels of consciousness, and I will touch on key facts that prove my point definitively. There is no excuse for anyone to miss my point after this video. Let's consider focus, sensitivity, and intensity. The thought process, memories, interests, and motivations, which occur automatically. Let's consider these things and how they relate to each other. The unconscious mind, right? The thought process, memories, interests, and motivations, which occur automatically and are not available to self-examination. Thus the term unconscious. This is the definition of the unconscious mind. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not insanity. I don't wear a tinfoil hat. I wear a color that represents my martial arts system. The white, the eye of Horus when he is calm. The rising sun, when you first get started. The sun in its glory, Har where. And the setting sun, the end of the martial art workout, which brings in the moon. This is different than the temple of Set, which relies on people being in a set state of mind or states of mind that allow for them to be manipulated. The philosophy of the followers of Set is to confuse people about reality, to take advantage of them using their unconscious mind and their subconscious mental processes, their automatic mental processes, if you will, to control them, to make them insist on what feels good to them in the absence of what truly is good and what feels great, and then to force them to do it their way, ultimately. That is the philosophy of Set. Mainstream denial is Set-based denial. There are different kinds of subconscious mental processes. The thought processes, the memories, what you're interested in, and what motivates you. There are different parts of the brain that are very much involved in this. And I've gone over the cerebellum, the cortex, the amygdala, the striatum, the thalamus, okay, and the hippocampus, and so on and so forth. Okay, this is not conspiracy theory. This is acknowledged through martial arts and acknowledged through science. Okay, what else is there? Intensity must be considered. If you are intense and intensely determined and focused and dedicated, it is harder for them to manipulate you. Manipulation, illusion, and rape are connected. Intoxicants, being intoxicated, states of mind, levels of consciousness, the materials and substances that are available. Why isn't there an emphasis on cracking down on these substances? Why can't they win the war on drugs? What would it really take? Of course, these ideas by themselves, in regards to the war on drugs, don't necessarily prove anything. But what does is what the obvious solution is and why people aren't implementing them or even beginning to explore them. Number one, military and martial arts mind states, okay? And to look out for serial killers, if you will. Now let's stop for a second. Why did I say to look out for serial killers? Well, it is a simple matter of the most threatening thing in society when it comes to physical harm is a serial killer. Somebody who has studied your moves, studied your habits, learned your weaknesses, and is planning to strike effectively. If you're looking out for serial killers in life, serial stalkers, serial rapists who often introduce themselves and try to and take people out on dates and pick people up, so to speak, okay, then you're pretty much doing at least near to the most effective kind of self-defense process that you can. So you need to identify threats effectively. Yes, they are drugging me. They're fuming me at this point. You have to bear with me. You can tell by the video before this that I have a very effective way of understanding things. Okay, so let's just go over this again. Start with the 18. Okay, I can't start this video over. I'll be even more drugged. So the 18 philosophies. Okay, number 1, military and martial art mind state, and to look out for serial killers. Identify threats effectively and to constantly be in a mind state where you're anticipating danger. Number 2, to ostracize the non-sabotaged, unfocused, healthy person. Okay, quote unquote healthy, right? If you're allowed to be healthy and you're unfocused and out of touch, why? You know, this is a person that is going to bring you down. If you hang out with a bunch of people who are idiots and social norm fanatics, if you will, they are going to make you an unfocused idiot as well. You know, talking to them, hanging around them, internalizing their behaviors, their expressions even, is a form of bringing you down. Number 3, the principles of truth and righteousness, right, through focus, sensitivity, and intensity over the idea of social acceptance and the law. Number 4, to acknowledge the culture wars in society. You have to acknowledge that there is a culture war in society and it is being waged on the righteous person. If you are not intensely sabotaged, you are doing the wrong thing. You can kind of gauge how much of the right thing you're doing by how sabotaged you are. Okay, before I continue, let us go over a few things, okay? A lot of you are stupid. You think I'm making stuff up. Perhaps the most difficult thing to believe is that I'm a brain surgeon's son. So let's knock that out, shall we? Here is my father's card. I don't care if you figure out who he is or not. I put the truth of humanity over society, but I'll do a little something to accommodate their view because he tries to go along to get along. On the back of the card, it says things that you should be wary of is excessive drowsiness and or inability to arouse, headaches which get worse, personality changes or bizarre behavior, persistent vomiting, weakness, numbness or paralysis in any limb, pupils becoming unequal, anything unusual such as double vision or slurred speech or drunk behavior without taking alcohol. Okay, again, he's a neurosurgeon. Interesting. It is interesting how I'm also concerned with behaviors that reflect mental states and what I believe to be dangerous for the individual spiritually and for humanity, because I believe in the connection of mind, body, and soul, and we'll get into that momentarily. Again, I actually used a piece of paper which shows that I'm the son of not only one, but 2 doctors, 1 a neurosurgeon. Okay, and this goes back to the burden of proof. When I show you my figure, okay, the genes, okay, my challenge, 4-year, up to $100,000 top martial art challenge, and points. This also puts the burden of proof on women. Why did you shun this guy? What are the effects of shunning? So you're basically teasing him, promoting the enemy's philosophies over his, and you're shunning him. The burden of proof is also on the culture. Why do you allow for this man to be treated this way? Why don't you have a culture that stands with the righteous? You know, and why does this culture allow for despicable dating cycles that group kind of cowards and weaklings and less than men, beta pussies with attractive women? How is this happening? How is this unnatural reproductive cycle occurring? Certainly that is a sign of rape, right? Of the worst kind of rape. A woman who actually believes she's making the smart choice by being with the guy who's taken advantage of the intoxicants and the illusion in society to sleep with her every day for the rest of his life, pretty much, or, you know, quite often for the rest of his life. Okay? This is a systematic and deplorable rape, okay, where the rape victim is actually feeling some sort of affection that she mistakes for love for the rapist. Why is this happening? They lack insight. The unfocused cultures are the ones that are allowed to survive. Unfocused subcultures and groups with an emphasis on a lack of being determined to be moral and aware. A military determination is important here. Okay, so we see the subcultures that create unfocused people and groups with an emphasis on a lack of being determined to be moral and aware. What happens when we have these cultures everywhere and we have people that support political parties and mainstream movements, okay, that don't allow for people to stand firm? I care not who wins the elections. I'm not a big fan of Trump, but it is what it is. One evil group overcoming another does not make it right. Anyway, cultures that are allowed to exist versus heroic cultures. I can't stress this enough. What is the difference? Where are the heroes? Why aren't they there? What passes for a hero in this day and age? In a world where people every second are being killed somewhere in the world, raped and drugged and tortured and so on and so forth. Okay? How does saving one person make you a hero? How can you possibly be a hero without addressing the underlying causes? You are basically a coward and a fool who just happened to be in the right place at the right time with the right skill set to save somebody. Good for you. That is not a hero. A hero does not turn his back, his or hers, on the underlying causes of society's suffering. That is a demon that happened to do something right. I save my applause for heroes. We must consider that there are 1.3 million active military personnel, 800,000 reserves, 16 intelligence agencies. When I did a Google search, that's the number they gave me, and 750,000 to 850,000 or so sworn police officers, not to mention vets, retired police officers, and so on. Why do we have unfocused cultures when it comes to dating for the purpose of dating? Why? Why are our dating sites catering to unfocused rich people? When we look at the ideal man and we consider health and martial arts arguments, what do we get? If we are in an illusion society where healthy and happy are part of the illusion, should we not question who's allowed to appear healthy and happy? Let's take the Black Lives Matter movement. Again, I think every mainstream movement is despicable and detestable. But this is a key example because some will say, well, why aren't your own people standing with you? This, that, and the other thing. Well, let's explore this, shall we? Who do they stand with and who don't they? And why? Again, I don't think people should be Republicans or Democrats. I don't think people should be libertarians. I think politics is a joke. I know it is. Black Lives Matter. Political culture. Who makes up Black Lives Matter? Who are the most pronounced groups in Black Lives Matter? We have eccentric Jews. We have black feminists. We have LGBT activists. Somewhat educated black activists. We have no African martial artists, at least emphasized as such. And we have the masses of unfocused black groupies with erratic behavior to what end? For what effect? They keep black people that don't ultimately make white culture seem superior down. This has everything to do with testosterone and martial art training. The O blood type is said to be, I was told the other day, is more common in black people. And this goes back to the O for the occult. Remember, set denial, settlers, and settling down are connected. We must focus and consider mind, body, soul conditioning. Soul in terms of confronting evil. Heart, soul, pulse, spirit, energy, nature. I can give you the sun in growing plants versus the grow light example and make comparisons. But by now, with the examples I made, you should be able to make all the appropriate comparisons and connections yourself. So number one, what is the focus necessary for standing at attention? Number two, powerlifting is an intense focus, but it is building on the flesh intensity. It's ultimately less focused in terms of micro focus. Three, endurance running, for example, is less intense, but it's an endurance-based focus. Four, surgical striking. These things can be built on with the illusion as opposed to breeding and skywalk maneuvering with striking, which is the superior focus.